On January 23rd, 1897, Mrs. Zona Shue is found dead in her dining room by a local young boy named Anderson Jones, better known as Andy in his community. He was asked that morning by Zona's husband, Edward Erasmus Trout Shue, to please see to her and see. She had been sick recently and he was concerned. Please go see if she needs any chores and take eggs to the market. He gets there and he finds, poor boy, he's 12 years old, finds Zona dead on the dining room floor. Her heels are together, her hand is by her side, and her other is over her chest. And he runs back to his mother, and she sends for Trout. Trout comes running home, tends to Zona. He's very upset, crying all over her. He won't get anyone get close. Not even other community women that come to help tend to her body, which is custom. In that time span, Trout is alone with his wife's body. He changes her. He takes her out of her day clothes, puts her into her Sunday best. He wraps her neck in her favorite scarf and then puts a veil over her head, which is tied under her chin.
The official report noted natural causes and possibly heart failure as the cause of death. Miss Hester, Zona's mother, didn't believe this as she had witnessed her young, vibrant, joyful daughter pale in her short marriage to Erasmus, knowing full well he was brutally abusing her. Her mother later claimed that after many prayers, she was visited by Zona's ghost, who insisted she was murdered by Erasmus, explaining her specific injuries in great detail.
She brings her brother-in-law to Lewisburg, and they go to County Attorney Preston. And they say, "My daughter's been visiting me, her neck was broken." The man doesn't believe her. It's a tall tale, but he's like, all right, there's enough strangeness in the case. She's young, only 22, she's dead of natural causes, and this man has a history. Okay, so he orders an autopsy. It took place over the course of 3 days. It was attended by Dr. Knapp, who declared her death and who tended to her while she was sick, and McClung and Shue himself. Over the course of 3 days, they try to rule out all other causes of probable death, which includes an examination of the stomach to rule out poisons, examination of the body to rule out a suicide. When they got to her neck, it walled side to side, and an examination, she had a crushed windpipe and a separation of the first and second vertebrae, as Zona had told her mother.
In a proper autopsy that revealed Zona's neck was broken and her windpipe was smashed. There were also apparently finger marks on her throat. Shue was ultimately arrested and charged with murdering his wife, Zona.
Everyone that was involved, sort of the authorities, kind of did their best to avoid talking about it. There's no mention of a ghost in the papers before the trial.
In the late 19th century, spiritualism and belief in the supernatural were widespread, and many people were inclined to accept the possibility that a ghost could communicate with the living. As a result, the public tragedy viewed Mary Jane Hester's testimony as credible, or at least compelling. The trial was covered in local newspapers, which sensationalized the story of the ghostly visitation. This coverage contributed to the widespread fascination in the case and helped solidify its place in regional folklore.
It was very sensationalized. Newspapers at the time ran like I said, they ran her transcript. The ghost story came out, and it was put in all the papers. People followed this case very closely.
Remarkably, the court allowed Mary Jane Hester's testimony about her daughter's ghost to be admitted during the trial. Although the prosecution did not rely solely on this spectral evidence, it was nonetheless a significant part of the case. Despite the unconventional testimony, the jury convicted Shue of murder. His guilty verdict was likely based on the combination of circumstantial evidence, inconsistencies in his behavior and statements, and the community's belief in the ghost story.
Well, that's another very interesting thing about this case, is there's really not a lot of evidence. It's all circumstantial, which Edward himself knew. And during the investigation of time, he actually been bragging about how they have nothing on me. Like, they don't. And they really didn't. Without that autopsy, they never would have had anything to charge him for. He had a dead wife. A lot of people have dead wives. It's hard to swallow a ghost. I myself am not a believer. But then how do you explain all the people saying that, yes, she told me about the neck injury? Because that took place, some of it, weeks before the autopsy.
The Greenbrier ghost case involving the 1897 trial of Shue for the murder of his wife, Zona Hester Shue, is one of the most famous cases in West Virginia history due to the unusual testimony provided by Zona's mother, Mary Jane Hester. Mary Jane claimed that her daughter's ghost had appeared to her after her death, revealing that she had been murdered by her husband. This spectral testimony played a key role in the investigation's subsequent trial, making it a unique moment in American legal history.